Honorable Prime Minister, Honorable Mervin Matthew, Minister for Public Works, Energy and Port, Honorable Dr. Colin McIntyre, Minister for Employment, Trade, Industry and Diaspora Affairs, and also the Parliamentary Representative for the Rosa Valley, distinguished and honorable members of Parliament and members of Cabinet, Mr. Edward Lambert, the Principal Advisor in the Office of the Prime Minister, Mr. Laudat McCaskey, Executive Director of the Independent Regulatory Commission, and other members of staff of the IRC, other distinguished guests, the experts we have on island with us, including Mr. Will Osborne, who is the Vice President of the Geothermal Resource Group. Actually, he is the main consultant on site for us, actually oversighting the processes. We also want to recognize in our midst this afternoon Mr. Siggy Johnson, who is the Senior Geologist, actually undertaking the well testing and monitoring of the flow tests. Mr. Alexis George, the Project Officer of the Project Management Unit, other members of staff of the Ministry, other public officials, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, it's indeed my pleasure and honor to welcome you here this afternoon to the site where it is happening. We are undertaking the flow test to actually determine the extent and quality of the resource, and I won't go into the technical and all the details. You'll have sufficient person to give that to you. And without further ado, I would call onto the podium for Mr. George to give you a broad, basic overview of the actual process. Mr. George.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Honorable Prime Minister, Honorable Mervin Matthew, Minister for Energy, Public Works and Ports, Honorable Colin McIntyre, Parliamentary Representative, other members of Cabinet, Mr. Edward Lambert, Special Advisor to the Prime Minister, Laudat McCaskey from the IRC, invited guests, media, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Last week's well testing procedure is part of an ongoing exploration and development process. This process, as authorized and supported by the Government of Dominica, seeks to confirm or verify the quality and quantity of the geothermal resource on island and its suitability for electricity generation. Recent studies have identified the Rosa Valley as a potential geothermal field. Over the past 4 years, the project has been able to successfully complete the following: drilling and testing of 3 exploratory wells, 2 here in Laudat and 1 in Waterhaven, which confirm the existence of a geothermal resource. Also the drilling of 2 full-size wells, 1 reinjection well in Lady Valley, Trafalgar, and 1 production well right here in Laudat. This production well was drilled between January 14th and March 1st, and up from June 10th, we have been testing that production well. Most recently, between June 10th and June 16th of this year. The purpose of this test is to determine the generation capacity of the production well by measuring the flow rate of the steam and fluid, temperature, the pressure, and taking various samples of the steam and fluid for chemical analysis. I must reiterate here that the communities immediately affected by the testing activities are continuously consulted and updated on these activities, to include discussions on testing details and its possible impact on the communities. Rest assured that best practices and industry safety standards are used for every aspect of this project. I am now very happy to report that the initial results of the flow test conducted on this production well here in Laudat over the past few days does indicate that we have a very productive well, which can be used for electricity generation. So I extend my sincere thanks to IDC, Mr. Stena Mark Morrison, the project manager, ESOP, our well testing consultants, GRG, our supervision consultants, to the members of our residents of the Rosa Valley, and in Dominica in general, for your understanding and support this all-important venture. Thank you.
Thank you to the Prime Minister and Commonwealth of Dominica. My name is Will Osborne. I'm with Geothermal Resource Group from California. GRG and my colleagues from Iceland Drilling Company and the ESOR, the Iceland Geological Survey, and other experts that have worked on this project from Italy, France, and New Zealand are extremely grateful for the opportunity to assist in the development of this safe, clean, and renewable energy for the country of Dominica. Today we're completing a 6-day well test, as Mr. George said, of the first commercial geothermal well in the country. We have measured the output of this well, and we expect it to be capable of more than 10 megawatts of electric power generation, which is enough to replace the current diesel power generation on the island and bring energy independence to the Commonwealth of Dominica. We urge the people of Dominica to continue to learn about geothermal energy. It is often misunderstood in many countries, and as you know, it's used for power generation in over 50 countries around the world already. There are thousands of geothermal wells operated safely every day around the world. So we urge you to continue to support the development of this resource that the country has been blessed with. So thank you very much.
This is let me recognize the presence of our Prime Minister, Honorable Roosevelt Skerry, the Honorable Reverend Blackmore, and all my cabinet colleagues here with me here today, Mr. Edward Laudat, Mr. Will Muslim, members of the media, distinguished guests, villagers of Laudat, members of the various technical teams, geologists from various companies mentioned here today, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, it gives me great pleasure to be here this afternoon at the presence of this press conference in reference to the geothermal energy production well testing. We started about 6 days ago, and we came here and we were able to witness the power generated from right beneath our feet here. And of course there were concerns from the village point of view, but as a government we saw it fit to really pursue this initiative, look at energy independence, energy security. We know what we are talking about in terms of the cost of petroleum products. Today I was called in by one of the newsrooms to talk about the present hike of diesel on the market as to why it was happening. And as I said to the newsroom, I said to them that we have no control whatsoever over the price of petroleum products. We don't produce them in Dominica, and it's going to be very difficult for us. If there's a little problem somewhere in the world, of course the price is high and that's a problem for us. But we have control over what we have in Dominica. And what we have in Dominica, right here in the Rosa Valley, being the energy nerve of Dominica, we look at clean, green, environmentally friendly energy. And what we are seeing here today, right at the back of us, in terms of the power that lies beneath the earth right here in Laudat, I think that's something that's tremendous for us. So I want to urge our people in the Rosa Valley to continue being understanding, especially the folks or villagers in Laudat, where they have been bombarded with quite a bit of negativity about this project. This project is a positive project, and the aim of this project is to provide energy security for Dominica. In particular, yes, the Rosa Valley, especially Laudat, will stand to benefit in terms of what can come from the geothermal plant that's going to be built. So with these few words, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to say to the people of the Rosa Valley to continue to understand that we in the Rosa Valley, we're forming what we call energy node, this in terms of hydro already existing here, and now we speak of the geothermal energy plant, which will be built in the Rosa Valley to really take energy to the next level in Dominica. So in terms of the negative critics of continue to try to disrupt your lives and frighten you, get you scared, over the last 6 days it was peaceful here. Yes, there's a bit of a little raw behind there showing the power of what exists beneath the earth. But in time to time, with the development of this project, that will be silenced and it will be put into a plant that can silence it and produce that energy for us. So when we put our light switches on, we know what's going on in terms of the cost of energy. So with these few words, I'd like to say I welcome the project. I stand by your side in terms of the people of the Rosa Valley, and this can only take us to the next level. Thank you very much.
Honorable Prime Minister, distinguished guests, members of the press, I wanted in a special way to recognize in our presence all the technical officials and those of you listening and of course viewing from your homes in Dominica and beyond. Today is in fact a historic moment in our development as a people. And what you are witnessing here today, which brings us one step closer to the actual production of energy by way of geothermal, is precisely and exactly what the Roosevelt current Labour Party administration stands for. This has been a very long and difficult journey, both in terms of mobilizing the financial resources and the technical competence to get us to this point where you're now at. This process started where the cap was released safely and efficiently, adhering to the best practices in the geothermal industry, and that is commendable. Let me, as you heard from the other speakers, give the people of the Rosa Valley the commitment that this Labour Party administration, under the leadership of Roosevelt Scarrett, will ensure that everything that is done to bring us to a level where we can produce energy will be done with the best practices being adhered to at all times. We are very much confident that going forward, that we the people of Dominica, for once in our development, will be able to enjoy, one, energy independence, two, energy reliance, and three, cheaper energy to the households and Dominica on a whole. This prosperity that has evaded us all our lives will be made possible by the Dominica Labour Party. We have been talking about the potential in geothermal energy for more than 40 years. But no government had the competence in terms of mobilizing the requisite resources and technical competence to have gotten us to this point we're now at in our development. We must therefore begin the process of planning to manage the prosperity that may emerge from that tremendous enterprise. I'm happy to be part of this administration that has been able to deal with this issue of high energy costs frontally, my dear friends. And of course today you're witnessing leadership from the front by having the presence of our Prime Minister on the side. That is what the Labour Party stands for. And that is why we are confident going forward that the people of Dominica will demonstrate the requisite ownership to this project by ensuring that they work with us and understand the processes involved. What we are seeing here today also demonstrates our commitment to transparency. You're seeing what is taking place in Laudat. And of course it's been done safely. And in ending, just to dispel the notion that the testing is being done by myself or Mr. George only. We have been able to attract and contract the best talent in the industry for the drilling process, the testing process, and the supervision component. The Iceland drilling team is among the best in the world. The ESA group is among the best in the world. in terms of the testing and the monitoring of the environment. And the Geothermal Resource Group of America is among the best in the world, my dear friends. We have been able to contract the best talent in the world to lead us to the process, and we are confident with the support we shall in due time develop our own local capacity to own that process going forward. Let me just say to you again, just to dispel the notion that there was no EIA done at every level of the process. The testing well, the test wells process, we had an EIA done. At the production well level, an EIA was done. At every instant, we sought and received permission from the Physical Planning Agency. So we have been able to adhere to the fundamental best practices throughout the processes, and we're glad for that. I want to say to the people of Laudat, thank you very much for your support thus far. You have every reason to have concern. And of course, the obligation and responsibility of any democratically elected government is the security and safety of its people. And for that, we have to ensure that we give the utmost consideration to that element. So I wish you well, and I have been so advised that based on the monitoring and the information coming from this well, we can generate up to 11.4 megawatts, which surpassed the capacity that we once thought of, which was 5 megawatts. That is commendable, and it tells you that the Dominica Labour Party is on the right track. And we shall take Dominica to the next level by ensuring that we have cheaper energy, clean energy, more reliable energy, and at the same time contributing to combating climate change. I wish you well, and may the good Lord continue to bless you. Thank you very much.
Let me say that this government has embarked upon what many consider to be a very ambitious undertaking. As my colleagues indicated, the idea of exploring our geothermal potential has always been with us. Very long before I was actually born, this was around, people discussing it, studies were done. But it is a very expensive undertaking, particularly the exploratory stages. And you will not get an investor who is prepared to come in to put in his money during the exploratory stages. It's always the government will have to invest in those stages and get the resource to a level where it becomes bankable and an investor would show an interest. And that's what we have done. And we've spent in excess of $50 million that we've mobilized to get to this level. But why have we pursued so vigorously our geothermal potential? Was there a need, or is there a need for us to have done that? And the simple answer to this question as to is there a need for it is yes. Why has the government pursued this very ambitious and indeed expensive venture? It is simply because we have been listening to the cries of the Dominican population, our business people, the people who are involved in manufacturing, the tourism people, the hoteliers, and also every citizen of this country who receives an electricity bill at the end of each month. The single greatest cry of all these people is that our light bills, as we call it, is way too high and exorbitant. And there are many Dominicans, including hotel operators, who say that it is difficult for them to survive because of the high energy bill at the end of the month and at the end of the year. Now we import fossil fuel, we import diesel and petroleum products. We do not have it here in Dominica. And the price on the international market has increased dramatically over the last 10 years. And with the issue confronting Iraq, with the civil war unrest here, there, and in Libya, and with the high incidence of the operations of Boko Haram in Nigeria, and with political uncertainties in many countries that are oil-producing countries, all of these things will cause and have caused the price of the petroleum product to skyrocket. So the landed price in Dominica is already prohibitive for us in the country. What is our solution to high energy costs? The solution to high energy costs is to explore what the good Lord has given to you, as they have done in other countries in respect to fossil fuel. He has given to us a resource called geothermal. And it is the wish that we take advantage of what we have to our benefit. So when I hear people criticize the government's geothermal project, there's nothing wrong with criticisms. There are people who have had and who may continue to have legitimate concerns. And we have always, at every single step of the process, step back and listen to the concerns and the views of all those who have expressed them. And when the government have said that whenever the residents of the Roosevelt Valley raise an issue, we have an obligation to listen to the issue and to respond to it. And in cases where we need the experts to come in to answer these questions, we have done that. And I give the assurances to the residents of the Roosevelt Valley, and indeed the entire country, that we shall continue to do so as we go along. But we have to be very careful about those whose only ambition it is to see Dominica retrogress. There are some who would prefer to see Dominica in a backward state. There are some who would like to hear people cry and say the light bill is too high and the government is not doing anything about it. We know these people. We've been hearing them since the 60s and the 70s and the 80s and the 90s, and they'll continue. But they offer no practical or tangible alternative to what this government is doing. So rest assured, the residents of the Roosevelt Valley, that we shall continue to listen to your concerns, and we will respond to the concerns that you have raised. But it is important for us, in Dominica to embrace the geothermal project. We come and we say, well, this country in the Caribbean is more advanced than Dominica. Oh, I went to the United States, I went to the United Kingdom, and I saw this happening. Why can't it happen in Dominica? But you don't hear these people criticize the development taking place. They embrace it. They welcome it. But we have to have that attitude and that culture ingrained in our minds and our attitude and our expressions. And to embrace development. Because that, if based on what the experts are saying to us, if we're able to successfully take advantage of this resource, it would mean that every single Dominican would have more money in his pockets, because you would have to pay less to the electricity company. It means, therefore, the cost of doing business for the government itself, because we pay our bills. And in this year's budget coming up, as the Minister of Finance, I have had to increase the energy cost. The monies we budget every year for electricity will be increased in this year's budget, because the price of the petroleum products have gone up, and therefore our light bills will go up. And if the government can reduce, say 10, 20, 30, 40%, whatever the percentage is, of its light bill, it means, therefore, there will be more money the government will have to continue to improve our healthcare system. to continue to improve our roads, to continue to invest in education, to invest more in agriculture and tourism to create sustainable jobs in the country. So when you analyze and you study all of the aspects and the potential benefits of geothermal, one can appreciate that our lives will not be a utopian one, but certainly it will be better for us than it is today. Because if you are not a leader with a vision, if you are not a leader who understands what has to be done for this country, sometimes if you have to allow yourself to be swayed by criticism, you close shop. You close shop. But we have to ensure that we remain steadfast in our developmental efforts. Because Dominica today, because of its geothermal potential, has gained tremendous regional and international recognition because of our firm commitment to exploring our renewable energy resources. St. Vincent is doing so as we speak, and we are sharing with them what the resources that the information that we've had so far. St. Lucia is looking at going back into exploring it. Nevis has been trying something for some time now, and they've been asking us, and we're working with them so they can jumpstart their own efforts. We've been working, as you know very well, with the departments of Guadeloupe and Martinique, and the whole of the European Union, in particular France. New Zealand, United States government, all of these countries are working with us, assisting our country in taking advantage of this. So we have to guard ourselves against those who come here pretending to have our interests at heart. And I'm happy to see my friends like Gary Shillingford, you know, who I must commend for bringing tremendous public attention to the whole process. But I believe in his own involvement in the discussion on geothermal, and his own independent readings, his own independent research, raising the question, waiting for a response, having received a response, analyzing the response. Believes that geothermal is in fact a good thing for the valley, indeed for the country. So people like that had genuine concerns. Genuine concerns. But there are some people in this country who will be prepared to sell even themselves for some political support. So the opposition here has jumped on the bandwagon and opposing geothermal. Not because in their minds they do not think it is good for Dominica, but maybe because those who oppose it, those who are enjoying our rivers here and our lakes here and our fresh breeze and air, are opposed to it and may have offered a few political dollars. Now, I am not prepared, and I will never be prepared to sell this country and our patrimony for any political favor. I rather lose an election than to sell this patrimony of this country to a few people who believe that they alone should enjoy a better way of life in Dominica and in the world. And of course, the opposition knows that if geothermal is able to land itself in Dominica and we are able to reduce on the energy bill or the light bill of people, then it means doom and gloom for themselves. So I'm here to say to our friends in the Roseau Valley, and of course the entire country, that there's nothing wrong in raising a legitimate concern. And no concern doesn't make sense. Every concern is important. But you must want to receive a response to your concern. You must want to listen to the response to your question. But if you ask a question or you raise a concern, and when the response is given to you, you're shouting at the top of your voice, or you walk away from the meeting, you cannot be serious. And you'll have a few guys who come to these meetings who live out of the valley and come to these meetings in Laudat and Trafalgar and raise all sorts of questions. All sorts of questions and so forth. And sometimes you ask yourself, you know, I mean, what is the motivation? And I read the reports, and every public consultation we've had, they ask the same question. You know, but I'm happy and proud of the Roseau Valley people who have stood up for themselves first, for the community and for the country, and said in no uncertain terms that yes, we have concerns, but we are in support of this geothermal project, and we must support the government's effort in exploring and taking advantage of this. And I want to say on behalf of the government and indeed the people of this country, I want to say thank you to the residents of the Roseau Valley. So we're here to open up the process to the media so they could see for themselves, with the hope that they'll report accurately and not cut up what Skerrit said and then. But it is live, so all Dominicans will hear me, so. But I want to thank, though I know somebody will be down to give you a vote of thanks, but to thank all our partners. All our partners who have stood with us from day one in supporting us financially, in providing us with technical assistance. I want to say thanks again to the residents of the Roseau Valley first and foremost, and to the wider country, to my colleague and friend Minister Blackmore, who has taken a very passionate approach towards the geothermal project, his permanent secretary and Mr. George and all the wonderful people in the Ministry of Public Works and Energy and the geothermal unit. Also Dr. McIntyre, the Member of Parliament, for reporting to us from time to time on the concerns of his constituents. The police officers and the various government agencies who provided some level of support during the testing phase of this geothermal testing. So I'm very happy to be here, and I want to thank my colleague Minister for inviting me to visit the site and of course to speak. So I want to say to us that we have made progress. There is still more work to be done. We have some way to go, but I believe with the approach we've taken, we will be successful in bringing cheaper energy to our country, Dominica, and our residents. So may God bless our efforts. May God bless our country, Dominica, as we all work towards creating a better way of life for Dominica. I want to recognize one of the richest companies in Dominica, Domlec. Our friend, the general manager, Mr. Kovar. Welcome, nice to have you here, and of course, thanks for your support during the processes. So let us work together. Let us work together as we try to create a better way of life for all our citizens in this country. I want to thank you very much, and may God bless all of us. Thank you.
thank you for taking time off to be here with us in this new turning page in the future of development of Dominica. Before we thank you, we want to tell you that with this result here today, it means that things can only get better for the energy security and business development of the Commonwealth of Dominica. With that, we want to thank the Honorable Prime Minister and Cabinet for their great leadership role in that aspect. We also want to thank the people of the Iceland Drilling Group. Thank you guys for doing a wonderful job. Gentlemen from the Iceland Geo Survey, also the Geothermal Resource Group. We want to give a special thanks to you. Special thanks to the Commonwealth of Dominica government, every member who had any role to play in this part. And a special thanks to police and firemen who have been here with us for the 6 days, making sure that everything stays good. The residents of the Roseville Valley, especially the people of Laudat, big thanks to you. We want to thank you for your cooperation, your patience, even if sometimes it might be a little loud in the night and people scare you with false information. We want to thank you for understanding and remaining calm and steadfast. I want to thank Mr. Hodge for an excellent prayer, the Honorable Ministers, like we said, and of course the media houses and all the representatives. And once again, thank you on behalf of the people of the Roseville Valley and the Commonwealth of Dominica. Our economy can only go upwards from there, and I hope to see continuous, speedy continuance on the geothermal project that can actually be fruit-bearing to our country. Thank you very much again, once again.